The CEO of United Healthcare was assassinated today. In a rare example of, never mind, I can't say that. Never mind. In a rare example of nothing.
Now, so there was a deadly shooting in Midtown Manhattan early this morning. And unfortunately, the CEO of United Healthcare is
a rare example of a bad thing. No, bad things happen all the time. In a common example of a bad thing. Wow, he looks like Matt Gaetz. He looks like somebody opened Matt Gaetz in Blender and kind of like stretched horizontally a little bit.
now dead. Alexis McAdams is on the scene, is just right near Fox News Studios. Alexis, what do you know?
Hey, Dana. So this is all still developing. It only happened in the past couple of hours, but I just got off the phone with an NYPD source who tells me that this was not a random attack. Okay, so I'm going to show you where this all happened, setting this up for you right here in Midtown Manhattan. This is also, to lay this out, right, one of the busiest times.
Yeah, the NYPD have a lot of suspects to run through, just everyone who's ever had their claim denied by United Healthcare. And I think they have one of the highest rates of claim denial of all American healthcare companies. So probably a lot of people. 32% claim denial. Good Lord.
Times to be in New York City in the entire year. We have the Rockefeller tree lighting later on tonight, so there's going to be massive crowds, and this is happening just blocks away. So on their left-hand side here, okay, in Midtown Manhattan, you can see the Hilton. Well, that's where I'm told by police sources that the United Healthcare CEO is walking out this morning.
I wonder if this is going to, like, lead to pressure for the Trump administration to not veto the ACA, because once the ACA goes, you know that like 100 million Americans are going to lose health insurance. It's gonna be like Trump drops the ACA, 100 million Americans lose health insurance, a tenth of them pick up a gun. I don't know, like it's gonna be crazy, you know, everyone crashing out unironically. Yeah.
Morning around 6:45, heading to a very important annual meeting here for the healthcare company when somebody was waiting for him, according to sources outside across the street, and shot him not once but twice, once in the chest and once in his leg. Okay, so back here we can kind of tell you this is all still developing here on the ground. The NYPD has a lot on their hands, like they always do, but especially right now during the Christmas season, so they're trying to figure out exactly what played out here. We're hearing they're going to hold a press conference here in the next hour or hour and a half, Dana, to try and calm some fears, because when people are watching at home, whether you're in New York City and you live here or you're visiting and you hear that there was a shooting where a man was...
Oh yeah, there we go. Claim denial rate by insurance company, UHC, right there, 32%. Yeah, wow, the highest of these listed. Whew. Oh, and there's Aaron Rupar, expressing the populist sentiment that we all know and love from the Democrats. Absolutely depraved to get your dunks in when the guy was just murdered in cold blood. Oh, I agree completely with Aaron Rupar. That's sickening, you know? And a pillar of the community, too. The CEO of a healthcare or a health insurance company. I mean, of all the people to make fun of after their death. How dare you dunk on Kissinger after he died? Sympathy for him is out of network. Sure, but he murdered way more people in cold blood. True! Real social murder-pilled individuals will understand. If you are part of an administration, agency, bureaucracy, government, whatever, and because you are interested in cost-cutting, you engage in behavior that leads to the death of many, many people, you're engaging in something called social murder. Now, the cool thing about social murder is that it's not illegal. You can actually do it as much as you want. If you run a health insurance company and you just deny people's claims, or if you work in government and you cut people's food stamps or welfare or whatever else, people will die, but it's social murder. So it's like done through a system rather than like you personally. So a social murderer meets an actual IRL murderer. You know, that's the real, that's like the hydrogen bomb versus coughing baby dynamic, you know? Woo, like it's the fantasy fights like on the, you know, Spike TV. Who would win? Social murderer versus actual murderer. I guess now we know who would win, as it turns out. But in the long run, if the shooter had lung cancer and was signed up with this health insurance company, and you give him like 15 or so years for the cancer to do its work after the claim was denied, maybe the social murderer comes out on top. See, it's all about the context. It's like when people watch those like Roman gladiator versus ninja videos and they're like, okay, maybe the gladiator wins in a straight up fight. But if the gladiator was like going through like a shadow dojo where the ninja could cling to the walls or like hang in the rafters and then dive down for an assassination, then the ninja would win, you know? So it's really about like the context of the fight.
Killed walking outside of a hotel. They want to know, is that suspect still on the loose? Right now, we don't have the information on that suspect.
Pretty embarrassing for someone with that high of a kill count to lose to a complete novice. Yeah, really not in his head. Feels like the Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul fight all over again, huh? You really expect with a guy with a social murder count like that under his belt, you would expect like he's one of the greats, and then he falls to a rookie. Really just a very disillusioning year.
Specifically or who they're looking for, but I'm told that he had a mask on and gloves, and they believe he was waiting for that healthcare CEO. I'm going to step out of the way again so we can kind of zoom in here as this is all still developing too. On your screen, you can see that police tape and the crime scene there set up. But Dana, you know from walking around here not far from Fox News studios, this is a busy time, right? And a lot of foot traffic. So for this man to come out, Brian Thompson, 50 years old, of that hotel at 6:45 in the morning just off of 6th Avenue and get shot in the chest, you know, a lot of people are very nervous about what's going to happen next.
Are we, so right, I'm very familiar with that area. So that is also the Hilton residences, right? So, I mean, some questions I think you do not know the answer to, but let me just raise them here. Was he going to a meeting there? Did he have a room there? Was there going to be some sort of a conference there? Is that a
Holy shit, there's video footage of the hit? I'm looking at it now. I definitely can't show that on stream. This is the most like how you would show a hit in a TV show hit I've ever seen from security camera footage. That is insane. Can you link it? Yeah, I can link it. That is, that's crazy. I mean, I guess it happened exactly the way that I would imagine it to happen, but normally normally I guess it's not that. He literally has a silencer. He literally has a suppressor on the pistol. It's like the most peak cinema. Well, no, that would imply that I think this is good, which I would never. Why is he racking the slide in between every shot? Wait, he's racking the. There aesthetics? No, there's no way that's a single shot. It looks cool. It doesn't. It looks unwieldy and ineffective. Probably jammed. No, he does it like 4 times. Probably modified. It's just a pistol. I mean, there's like a billion of them. Could be 3D printed. But it's America. Why would you 3D print a pistol in America when you could like drive around with your hand outstretched out the driver's side window and eventually like catch one? 3D printed silencer? I don't know. Why is the video footage so bad? It's in New York City, so like the security camera taking the video footage is probably pretty old and somebody's recording it with their phone. If it's a Browning style tilted barrel action, the length of the suppressor can with the tilting of the barrel and short strike the pistol. Ah, that actually makes sense. If it's not the right, if the suppressor isn't fitted right, or it's not the right type of pistol for a suppressor, or maybe if the like fitting of the suppressor was done custom, like you put the threads on, like if something like that, maybe it looks like maybe it would prevent the slide from fully completing its movement after a shot. I don't know, whatever. Just curious.
Place where you could have maybe a breakfast meeting.
Subsonic ammo can do this too. Oh yeah, it might be underpowered ammunition because that would prevent the slide from going all the way back. That's a possibility. It could be underpowered ammunition for the pistol. The slide could be too heavy. That has to be it. Yeah, that makes the most sense by far. He got like weak subsonic ammunition and it doesn't push the slide all the way back, so he has to manually re-rack it. That's a rookie mistake. Makes it honestly even more of a disappointment that a, esteemed social murderer would lose to him.
As a business person, you want to get your day started early?
Yeah, so as of right now, what we're hearing is that he was just staying.
Makes it very silent though. Yeah, but you can get pistols that will re-rack after firing subsonic 22 LR ammo.
This hotel. United Healthcare is based out of Minneapolis or based out of Minnesota, so he was in town for this annual business conference. He was reportedly heading on his way to that conference to try and just have his latest meeting that then United Healthcare did postpone after they found out about this. What they said was a medical emergency in the beginning. So we're trying to figure out exactly what happened, but to know possibly, he was targeted, and then his family and friends at this time still, haven't been notified. I was told by some sources, so they're still trying to work this thing on the ground. But
it's a stunner of a story, and it has all the markings of a hit job. And there was one report from some others who were working that story here in New York that he simply walked through an alleyway or ran through an alleyway and got on a bicycle and got away. Is any of that verifiable now, or is it too early?
They warned you about 15-minute cities. This is why liberals want biking infrastructure, okay? Look at the threat it poses to you.
So I was told he was on foot. So when we talk about this, like you said, when you're looking at this crime scene, you're setting it up to talk about a hit job. That seems kind of like what it was, because this is where he was, according to these police sources. So you can kind of see over here where the Ziegfeld Theater is. This CEO walks right out of the Hilton there, out of the lobby, and he's shot like within seconds, right, of getting out. So they said he was on foot. And then, in terms of who they're looking for, we don't have.
All of Reddit seems happy about it. No one on earth likes health insurance companies except for extremely wealthy people who invest in them. They are legitimately one of the most despised, reviled industry. Like, I genuinely think that if you polled Americans on their support for like varying industry leaders, people like that would be up there. They would be well below like arms manufacturers, because even Republicans don't like health insurance agency leaders. They would be like up there with concentration camp guards or whatever. They're like, administrators of Auschwitz-Birkenau, like insanely hated.
Have a specific description except to tell you that he was wearing a mask and gloves and standing there with a gun. What kind of gun? Was it a handgun? Was it concealed? Did he pull it out? How quick this all happened is still to be, told here. But the police...
Dog, look at how shit this coat looks. No hate to this guy or whatever, but it's literally like they're making coat, like this is a woman's coat, but it's even too tight for a woman's coat. Look, it's fitting him like a damn t-shirt. It's like a pencil skirt or whatever, like a little skirt dress or whatever. It's so small. Coat should be big and heavy. How much does this even protect you from the cold? It's New York. It gets cold out there.
This all happened is still to be, told here. But the police are trying to figure that out. And they might not have a lot to say, they said, too, at that press conference. Right. But they basically just want to, about the investigation, they just want to tell people that they don't think this was a random attack. It wasn't just somebody coming to shoot somebody that was just randomly leaving the lobby. They think they knew who this guy was.
Alexis, thank you. I believe Paul Morrow, Fox News contributor, is with us, former NYPD.
How long is a good man's coat, knee length lower? A good men's coat should come down to the knee or a little bit lower. Like a big, heavy overcoat. Yeah, it's New York. You should be wearing... If you live in New York, you should have an overcoat. That's not even a fashion thing. Like, it gets really cold in New York. Imagine like being in Chicago or something, like living in Chicago and wearing something like this when the winters hit like -20 or something, Sheesh. Yeah. I mean, they're all military in origin. They're sick. I don't have a giant coat like that, but I live in Seattle.
Of course. Paul, you know this area well. What do you think is happening here?
Obviously, Dana, it looks very much like a targeted attack. It tracks to a lot of sorts of shootings we've had down through the years.
Is -20 a lot for Americans? Well, that would be 52 degrees below freezing in Fahrenheit. So yes, that would be that's pretty cold. Yeah. That's like, like -28°C or something like that? Does Seattle not get cold enough for an overcoat? Nah, the coldest it really gets here is like 40 or so, which, I mean, you can wear a coat and be comfy in 40 degrees, but it's not necessary.
Of even the infamous hit in front of Sparks Steakhouse and Midtown execution, for lack of a better term. So obviously there's going to be a tremendous amount of media attention on this, a high-profile figure right now.
-20 Fahrenheit is -6°C. No, it's not. That's not possible. Because 32 Fahrenheit is 0°C. So there's no way going down 52 degrees in Fahrenheit would go down 6 degrees in centigrade. What is it? Hold on. -20 F in Celsius. Yeah, I was right. -28 degrees Celsius. I was correct. Call me the centigrade whisperer. What's up, Euroids? Euroids trying to calculate what 32 degrees Celsius would be in Fahrenheit. Something like 105, perhaps? Me trying to calculate like a negative degree translation from Fahrenheit to Celsius on the dot.
Now, I can tell you for sure they're canvassing the entire area. They're pulling video. They're looking at subway records to see if there's any video or digital footprint in the subways. Reportedly, the guy fled on foot. There's some other reporting that he might have jumped onto a bicycle, which is difficult. There's been a number of incidents like that down through the years in Manhattan where the perp fled on a bike. That makes you very mobile.
It's because you need Celsius, but we don't need Fahrenheit. Yeah, okay. Yeah, but you know what? Men the world over bust out their centimeters to inches calculators when measuring dicks, because no one measures dicks in centimeters. Sorry. It's true.
You're independent of red lights. You can kind of go anywhere. This will be a tough one. And then the other thing they're going to do, obviously, look very, very deeply into the victim's history.
Yeah, United Healthcare is a huge company. I'm just looking at some of the consumer base is more.
What if you need it to sound big? If you tell me what your dick length is in centimeters, I will always assume that it's small. It doesn't matter what the number is. If you're telling me centimeters, I will always assume it's small. I don't do the math in my head. I just go, oh, okay. Well, you're bottoming, so.
50 million people, Paul. You know, you're a CEO of a company like this, and you carry a lot of policy. You have a lot of history. We don't know his specific history with United Healthcare, but this is a significant company. The Post is reporting, the New York Post is saying that Thompson was at the hotel at 6:46 a.m., arriving early for a conference. That's when a masked man waiting for him fired at him repeatedly and then fled. And beyond that, there's not a lot of detail.
Let me see if I can find a more recent video on this, because this one came out 4 hours ago. NYPD update on shooting death here.
We've got some breaking news.
Okay, I get it. I'm already watching.
New York City police are giving an update on a deadly shooting in Midtown Manhattan targeting the CEO of United Healthcare. Let's listen.
Appears at this early stage of our investigation to be a brazen, targeted attack. This does not appear to be a random act of violence.
Why are we watching this? It is like jokes aside, it is the assassination of a incredibly powerful and wealthy CEO. Something like this hasn't happened in an insanely long time. It's actually a really, really, really big deal. Like, it's actually like a massive deal.
The victim was in New York City to speak at an investor conference. It appears the suspect was lying in wait for several minutes. And as the victim was walking to the
minutes? Oh, this guy had a line in on the inside then. He's out there at like 6:30 in the morning, knowing exactly when he's going to leave the hotel. This was like a full... That level of coordination makes it seem like this was a hit and not like a random... Like this was a professional, basically.
Conference hotel.
Like a hired hit.
The suspect approached from behind and fired several rounds, striking the victim at least once in the back and at least once in the right calf. Many people passed the suspect, but he appeared to wait for his intended target. The suspect fled, first on foot, then on an e-bike, and was last seen in Central Park on Center Drive early this morning. The victim was removed to Roosevelt Hospital, where he was pronounced. We've been in touch with his family, his friends, and his colleagues, and they are very much in our thoughts and prayers at this.
Can you imagine pulling off a hit and then getting on like a Lyft scooter and just zipping off into the distance? Crazy. Modernity.
The full investigative efforts of the New York City Police Department are well underway, and we will not rest until we identify and apprehend the shooter in this case.
Don't those have trackers on them? I wouldn't be surprised. It had to be his own, right? It makes sense you would want to go with a bike because it's New York City. Like, can you imagine trying to quickly get away anywhere in New York City on a car? Like, you're not in LA. It's not like there is a... million underpasses, underground parking lots, whatever. You know, you're in like the heart of New York City. Like, you're getting stuck in traffic even at 6:30 in the morning. It would have to be a bike. Could have done metro. Well, I guess, but feels like pretty trackable.
The women and men of the NYPD take enormous pride in the work that they do each day and each night to drive down crime and violence in our city. Right now, we are asking the public for your help. If you have any information about this case, call Crime Stoppers at 800-577-TIPS. We have increased the reward in this case to $10,000. I want to be clear.
I feel like that's actually an insanely small amount for the assassination of a CEO. Like $10K? That's 1 month of rent in Manhattan.
This time, every indication is that this was a premeditated, pre-planned, targeted attack. Millions of people will be enjoying the tree lighting tonight, among other holiday events, and the NYPD will be out there with them, keeping them safe. For some preliminary details about today's tragic incident, I pass it over to our Chief of Detectives, Chief Joe Kenny.
I want to say, like, from a general perspective of crime and security, that there is literally no level of policing that you can fund or engage in that can make stuff like this impossible for anyone. Random acts of violence, stalking, terrorism, targeted assassinations. If a person wants to do these things, they can do them. Somebody nearly killed Donald Trump and he had Secret Service protection. It just takes a rooftop and a gun. The only way to cut down on violence on a widespread social level is through high levels of equality and social trust. This is empirically demonstrable. If people's needs are met, if they live in environments with great levels of equality, so like, say, for example, you're not in New York where you're passing by homeless people that have frozen into icicles on the street underneath the high-rise penthouses of people who have more money and power than you could ever dream of. Like, there are ways to cut down on random acts of violence. This one was not random, but I'm just talking about crime in general.
Thank you, Commissioner. The information I'm about to give you is preliminary as our investigation is continuing. This morning at 6:46 a.m., patrol officers from Midtown North Precinct responded to a 911 call of a person shot in front of the Hilton Hotel located at 1335 Avenue of the Americas. This is between West 53rd Street and West 54th Street. At 6:48 a.m., officers arrive and find the victim, Brian R. Thompson, a 50-year-old male, on the sidewalk in front of the Hilton with gunshot wounds to his back and leg. Mr. Thompson was removed by EMS to Roosevelt Hospital, where he was pronounced dead at 7:12 a.m. Mr. Thompson is the CEO of United Healthcare and resides in Minnesota. Detectives from Night Watch, Midtown North Detective Squad, and Manhattan South Homicide responded to the scene and began their investigation. What we know is that the shooter arrived at the location.
Can I just say that, like, I actually find New York accents incredibly charming and endearing. I think it's really cool that, like, everyone, when people think of how Americans talk, they think of me because they think of Hollywood accents, and Hollywood is in Los Angeles, so they tend to think of people who have this really, like, level, easy to understand, like, enunciated, at least when I'm not stuffed up in my nose, accent. But it's just crazy to me that the biggest city in America has an incredibly distinctive accent that you just don't hear that much unless you live there, because all of our media, like, people are trained to talk like how I talk. You know, I like it. I think it's endearing. I like different accents. I think it's cool.
On foot about 5 minutes prior to the victim's arrival. He stands alongside the building line as numerous other people and pedestrians pass him by. From video, we see at 6:44 a.m. the victim is walking alone towards the Hilton after exiting his hotel across the street. We believe the victim was headed to the Hilton Hotel to attend the United Health Group Investors Conference that was scheduled to start at 8 a.m. The shooter appears to be a light-skinned male. He's wearing a light brown or cream-colored jacket, a black face mask, black and white sneakers, and a very distinctive gray backpack. The shooter steps onto the sidewalk from behind the car. He ignores numerous other pedestrians, approaches the victim from behind, and shoots him in the back. The shooter then walks toward the victim and continues to shoot. It appears that the gun malfunctions as he clears the jam and begins to fire again. Okay. The shooter then flees on foot northbound into an alleyway between 54th Street and...
Okay, apparently, hold on. The man's wife, Paulette Thompson, said he had been receiving threats. There had been some threats, she said in a phone call to NBC News. Basically, I don't know, a lack of coverage. I don't know details. I just know that he said there were some people that had been threatening him. I wonder what information she has that would lead her to think it was due to a lack of coverage. Though, like, that's the obvious thing you would assume in the assassination of a CEO of a healthcare company. He's been the CEO since 2021. I'm looking at his, like, Wikipedia page and history and stuff, and there's not a crazy amount of info, so I don't think that he's been involved in any, like, really loud scandals, to my knowledge. Being the CEO of a healthcare company is kind of, like, a scandal in itself, to be honest with you. The health insurance company at all, the existence of one is kind of scandalous in my humble opinion, but he's probably, like, a run-of-the-mill guy. I doubt, I don't know if he's done anything, like, especially evil, like, in the context of the field that he's in. Also, holy shit, apparently, yeah, the shooter actually did flee in a city bike. It wasn't a privately owned e-bike. It was actually a city bike. It is the New York City, like, Lyft bike or whatever. Yeah, it's right. Yeah, they literally. It's in the Wikipedia page. 100% going to track that. Yeah, it's what if they don't? Well, I mean, no, like, they'll track it, but, like, what if they don't get them? Daily ridership 131,000. That's pretty good. I mean, I guess it's New York City.
55th Street. Once at West 55th Street, the shooter continues to walk westbound on the Avenue of the Americas, where he gets onto an electric e-city bike and rides northbound on the Avenue of Americas towards Central Park. where at 6:48 a.m. we have the shooter riding this bike into Central Park at Center Drive. At the scene, we recover 3 live 9mm rounds and 3 discharged 9mm shell casings. The motive for this murder currently is unknown, but based on the evidence we have so far, it does appear that the victim was specifically targeted. But at this point, we do not know why. This does not appear to be a random act of violence. We are seeking information from the public to help identify the shooter. As the commissioner said, we have upped the reward up to $10,000 for information. You're urged to contact Crime Stoppers at 1-800-577-TIPS. All information will be kept anonymous. Thank you very much.
All right, well, we're going to open up to a couple of questions. We're going to start off with Shimon, CNN. So it's about an hour and 20.
I would be amazed if they don't catch him, by the way. Like, with this many people, with this much publicity.
20 minutes before the start of the conference. Is there any indication that he was going to meet someone? Because it's pretty early. Is he on his way to meet someone there at the conference?
He leaves the hotel dressed like he's going to be attending the conference. We're working with his co-workers and other people that he planned on attending the conference with to get that information. But as of right now, he's in charge of the conference, so we believe he was getting there to help set up.
Yeah, and then just the city bike, if I may. Do we know where that city bike is now? Does he dock it or does he keep riding it?
We're still tracking video. The last we see with him on that bike is in Central Park.
Is there a way to track that bike?
There are GPSs on those bikes. We'll be working with the company.
All right, we're going to move on. We're going to go NJ Burkett.
Thank you. Chief, were any words exchanged? If so, what were the words? And I'm told a cell phone was recovered in an alleyway on his escape route. Does that appear to be connected to the suspect?
We're working through that cell phone. Obviously, we'll be processing it forensically. And as far as words being exchanged, we do not have audio of the incident. We only have the regular video.
But nothing from witnesses?
Nothing from, well, there was one witness standing right next to the victim when he was shot. We're still trying to identify that victim. Excuse me, that witness.
Yeah, okay. We'll go to Aaron Katursky.
Thank you. Chief, was he checked into the hotel across the street alone? Was he in the city alone? Was he accompanied by anybody? Did he have any known enemies or anyone that you've been able to find so far?
Like I said, we're reaching out to law enforcement in Minnesota, and we're also interviewing his co-workers and family members to see if there have been any specific threats against him in the past. As far as who was he in the hotel with, we're doing a search warrant in his hotel room right now. That might lead us, give us some more information.
All right, we're going to go over to Dean Moses.
A couple of questions. One, based on the surveillance you've seen of this individual, do you feel like he's professional? You mentioned that he did a bullet spell. Do you feel like this was a professional individual who took his man's life?
Love that audio.
Will it affect in any way the tree light tonight?
I'll answer the part about whether or not he's a professional. That, we have no way of knowing that. From watching the video, it does seem that he's proficient in the use of firearms, as he was able to clear the malfunctions pretty quickly. But as far as the tree lighting, I'll leave that to Chief Madrick.
Yes. Good morning, Dean. Just really quick, this incident will not affect the tree lighting. The tree lighting is slated to start at 7 p.m. The show, the actual lighting of the tree will be close at 10 o'clock, actually 9:55 p.m. We will have a massive police presence out there around Rockefeller Center from 52nd Street all the way down to 47th Street. We will have plainclothes out there,
I mean, it does make sense, because since this was very obviously a targeted killing, they just want to make it clear there's not like a rampaging murderer on the loose. Like, this is not an active shooting threat in all likelihood. The guy had his hit, and now he's going to spend the rest of his life running from it. It's not a mass shooting.
Detail out there. We will have.
I mean, do they honestly expect there's any threat? I mean, like in a relatively well-to-do area, guy shot dead. It would be a pretty alarming headline. Like, if you can imagine, you look at the news, guy killed 6 blocks away or whatever. Maybe I won't go to the tree lighting. They're just being clear about that. I get that. That's like unironically part of the cop's job.
Our CRC assets, our strategic response group assets. We will have our intel division out there. A lot of assets out there to make sure people can come out and have a good time. And we're going to have additional police officers in the subways as well, so people can take mass transit to make it easier to travel into the city and enjoy the tree. This is a terrible event, but we're going to go on, and people are going to enjoy the tree lighting tonight.
All right, we're going to move on to Marsha Kramer.
I wonder if you could tell me, the mayor said that there was evidence recovered at the scene that would indicate that this was not a random event. I wonder if you could tell me what that evidence was. And by looking at the gun, it appears that there's a silencer on the gun. Was there a silencer on the gun? And does this indicate not only that it was premeditated, but this is somebody who knew his way around guns and might have been a professional?
Once again,
last time I saw a hit this blatant was a gang assassination in Chicago. Yeah, I genuinely cannot remember the last time I saw a hit that was this, like, it is a movie, let us show something that looks like a hit. You know what I mean? As opposed to what normally happens when you see security camera footage of somebody being shot, which is like two guys who are both wearing 17 layers of clothing walk by each other, and then there's a flash, one guy falls down, the other guy runs away. You know, normally it's just like, here's two people standing next to each other, and then one of them falls down and the other guy, because there's never any audio, you know? It's usually not this, like, cinematic.
We won't know that until we complete our investigation and identify the shooter or recover that firearm. You know, you see a glimpse of the gun in video, so we're not able to make a determination on whether or not a silencer was used on that quick glimpse of video.
Is that a silencer?
We can't tell from that little glimpse of video. I'm not going to commit to saying that at this time. That would be part of our investigation.
And what evidence did you...
There's a cell phone recovered in the alleyway, and once again, we will process that forensically and see if it comes back to this shooting.
So you don't think that the cell phone was part of Brian Thompson's... was on...
Once again, this investigation is less than 5 hours old. That will be part of our investigation.
Joe Marino, New York Post.
Chief, do we know when Thompson arrived in New York City? My understanding is he was staying close by to the Hilton, but not at
the
audio.
And
has anything in the reverse video cameras indicated that these two individuals crossed paths at all?
As of right now, based on the current video that we do have, it doesn't appear that they crossed paths, and he arrived in New York on Monday.
All right, we're going to take 2 or 3 more. We're going to go Rocco, Daily News.
Chief, did he typically travel with a security detail? And even though it's early, is there anything to indicate that there had been issues with, let's say, a patient who was denied coverage, either back in Minnesota or more recently, someone who lives here?
From speaking to other employees that traveled with him to New York, it doesn't seem that he had a security detail. He left the hotel by himself, was walking, didn't seem like he had any issues at all. So I don't think he did not have a security detail.
And as far as denied coverage, I know that's typically an issue with these major companies. Any reason to believe he had been the subject of a threat?
Once again, we're looking at everything. We're looking at his social media. We are interviewing employees. We are interviewing family.
They're gonna get something probably from, like, the people sending him threats. You know, to send threats to a damn health insurance CEO. You know, probably the guy who left those calls was either the guy who did the hit or the guy who paid for the hit. Whatever. We pretty much got what we got. Hey, speaking of info relating to American healthcare, they're probably going to retract the ACA soon, so you're all going to be thrown off insurance. I've been preparing for this by never getting on insurance, so, that's I'm just smarter than you, basically. I've been training my body to live without insurance. So, in addition to that, with regards to health insurance companies, in case you were wondering, because maybe you're outside of America, and you're thinking, like, why would somebody... I know health insurance companies in America are bad. Would somebody really be willing to kill a CEO over it? Well, here's a different health insurance company, but it's pretty wild news. Anthem Blue Cross Blue Shield won't pay for the complete duration of anesthesia for patient surgical procedures. It's apparent they're fighting this right now, apparently. The ASA, the American Society of Anesthesiologists, but... the Blue Cross Blue Shield has determined, like, an arbitrary length of time that you're supposed to be under anesthesia. And if your surgery goes for longer than that, they're not going to cover the cost of the anesthesia that was applied after that point. So you'll still get the anesthesia, but it won't be covered by the health insurance. Like, that'll be denied in the claim. So you can get a surgery that they say is covered, but if it runs too long, they're like, okay, well, the latter half of the anesthetic will cost you. And anesthesia is often one of the most expensive parts of getting a surgery. So they can tell you, like, yeah, this will be covered, but then you get a $20,000 bill at the end that they won't cover. Possibly more than $20,000. Yeah, the ACA is fighting this. Not ACA, ASA. In an unprecedented move, Anthem Blue Cross Blue Shield plans representing Connecticut, New York, and Missouri, oh, New York, interesting, have unilaterally declared it will no longer pay for anesthesia care if the surgery or procedure goes beyond an arbitrary time limit, regardless of how long the surgery actually takes. UHC claim denials far exceed the rest of the industry. Yeah, we saw that. Could this be a way to get anesthesiologists to agree to take lesser pay? Well, no, the reason health insurance in America, or the reason healthcare costs in America are so high, it's not because the doctors get paid a lot. It's because of this gigantic glut of middlemen and administrators in the insurance and healthcare industries that work together to ensure that everything is $1 million, and the only way a normal person can afford it is if they get the expensive insurance to begin with. But it's not literally the doctors that are at fault. Doctors and anesthesiologists get paid a lot, but not that much. An anesthesiologist might get paid $350,000, which is a lot of money. But you're an anesthesiologist. Okay, sure. Whatever. I don't really care. That is not what's making healthcare that expensive. Okay, if you getting surgery was just the summed cost of all of the wages of the doctors who worked on you, in addition to the material cost and cleaning and so on of everything that got used in fixing you up, healthcare costs would be 1/100th of what they normally are. Anesthesiologists make $500,000 easily. I don't care. I don't care. My enemy is not with them. I do think doctors are sociopaths. But especially surgeons, but that's a separate issue. Okay, that's a different one. Okay, but anesthesiology is a very important, very difficult job. You have any idea how much shit is on the line? They're okay, we've measured your blood pressure, we've looked at your family history, we've weighed you. I have determined that there is a 2 milligram window of the correct amount of anesthetic that will put you under and not give you permanent brain damage or kill you. And we're gonna monitor you the whole time you're under to make sure it doesn't kill you. Yeah, they have to poison you the exact amount. I could do it. Oh, I could do it too, of course, easily. But I'm built different. This is beyond classless. How would you feel if your father was murdered? Somebody posted a snide remark about his death. How I would feel speaking about my dad dying if he was the CEO of United Healthcare, which we don't support. By the way, this might also start meeting anesthesiologists. Might now have to weigh the morals of turning off different anesthetics to save patients money or something. No. You cannot. There is no financial pressure that will change the decisions of an anesthesiologist. There is no off-brand anesthetic or whatever. The difficulty, they have a set of tools. It's not about the cost of the tools. It's just about, yeah, you wake up in debt, basically. Which, hey, a bunch of Americans have medical debt anyway, so whatever. This is genuinely what the US voted for, though? No, they didn't. Don't put that on the voters. The voters don't know shit. The voters are... That's like a 3-year-old. You're and what do you want for dinner? Do you want spaghetti or ice cream? And then you do that every day for a month, and at the end of the month, they're sick and crawling around with one hand in their stomach, and you're well... kind of decided on this, sort of on you. The voters believe what they're told to believe. Blame the lobbyists. United stock is up. Based? It was only up for a second. Yeah, it's kind of normalized, but whatever, I don't know. Can we have a medical debt sacrificial lamb? We give everyone our medical debt, then let them die? Yeah, but if we did that, we'd have another 2008 financial crisis, but even bigger. I think that would be at 2008 times 10, I think. There are so many hands in all those bundles of medical debt. UHC also donated to a lot of Dems too. Yeah, of course. All big companies do that. It's called playing the field. You think you think evil lobbyists are all pro-Republican? Maybe the people, they vote Republican. The companies and the lobbying groups that they work for play the field evenly, so no matter who wins, they win. They all do that. The one truth Trump said back in the 2016 debates. He said a lot of correct stuff back in the 2016 debates. The only problem was that, because Hillary Clinton is Hillary Clinton, she couldn't own up to it or acknowledge it. Wasn't good. So what happens when you counter populism with, institutional defense?